Oh, you was listening to that, Pam?
Yes,
Okay, that's your neighbor.
right.
Okay. Okay. Revisit DC Ambulance Authority budget request.
That's putting the seal on it, should be right back. Put the seal on the bottom. I get one, two,
I don't think I got Thank you.
Thank you.
Is your list?
Okay, who wants to address it? You want to address that? Oh, sorry, you weren't in. Revisit DC Ambulance Authority budget request? You
Yeah,
want
I do.
to explain that to Mr. Robinson?
I wanted to give more information.
Oh, okay.
Only thing right to see your face to the back of it.
You're not too nuts or something like you could, right?
I won't read a lot of this because it's a lot of information and I don't want to miss what I want to, the information that you need. And I would like for you to wait until I'm finished so then you're welcome to ask me any questions to the commission. The December budget revision as it relates to the inventory, which is the one I think you're referring to. Okay, one more information, but there's another item on it. Excuse me, I'm going to try to put that. We moved the funds from one of the county commission's revenue accounts to the county commission expenditure accounts that pay the payroll for the ambulance authority. We just moved it from one commission account to another. The account mainly pays the payroll for, they have 2 complete teams for 2 ambulances 24 hours a day. It also pays for the director's salary and what other salaries that they have as we have transports or whatever. From the original, it was my understanding, originally they had set up that that was their goal, the commission and the board and the director, to have 2 teams 24 hours a day. And that's what we've been paying for. But this year, the problem was that we did not budget enough to cover what they were required to do. And so I was moving money over from one fund to another to cover what they were required to do. And when we prepared the budget in March, we tried to estimate what would be needed in each of the accounts and line items. When I say we, I mean the county clerk and I give the commission as much information as possible, and the commission decides how much to budget in each line item. After the first of the year, the surplus that hasn't already been allocated is placed into the expenditure section of the budget. This is usually used to shore up any accounts that might have been estimated too low, since we have more information by that time. If the majority of the, I'll skip the lines. I look at the budgets and make suggestions to the commissions in the form of budget revisions. If the majority of the commission agrees with the changes, they sign a revision and it's sent to the auditor's office. I try to explain the revision to the commission before or during the meeting, or write up something explaining it and attach it to the revision. This year, most of the under-budgeted accounts were taken care of with the surplus. But since the county commission payroll account for the ambulance authority was under budgeted by such a large amount, I waited before making suggestions to see how the revenues would be coming in. By November, I noticed that the county commission's account for the county clerk fees had already had a surplus, and it could easily handle moving enough money from it into the payroll account for the AA. Just to be sure, I decided to wait 1 more month before I suggested to the commission to move the money. Now, if the commission does not want to spend that much money from that account, what they need to do, right now it's, that amount in there is to maintain as it is now. Okay, if they need to make changes, they need to work this out with the Ambulance Authority Board, which they created, and the Director Flynn, who's the employee of the commission. Work it out, make whatever changes you need. That way that money will not be spent and that will be rolled over to the next year. But just by cutting it, you're going to cause, and leaving everything the same, you're going to cause the fund to run out of money to pay the employees. They'll work and then we won't have any money to pay them for the work they've done. So that's really not the direction you need to do to fix the problem. To fix the problem, you need to make changes. And you'll have to discuss with them about those changes, because it has to be a group effort. And I would like also to give you some information about the employees' rate of pay at the Ambulance Authority, because this also factors in this, since it is a payroll account. Their highest paid employee, which would be the paramedic at $13 an hour, makes less than all but 4 our employees. So their highest paid one makes less than the majority of our regular employees and other, I shouldn't say regular, other employees in other departments. I just didn't know if anyone would be aware of that. I see the numbers all the time, so I see that. And in addition to that, the employees at the AA who work a lot of overtime agreed, it's been a while, to a suggestion that they make a reduction to the your hourly pay. This was suggested by the Labor Department as a way of helping us cut costs. And when he suggested it, I didn't think, well, I didn't think he was going to do it. But we had quite a few employees who worked a lot of overtime agreed to take a cut in pay per hour. And well, I was kind of impressed by that. I have to admit that, because I just really didn't think most employees would do that. Now, if you, like I said before, if you need to feel like you need to make changes, if that's something you and the AA board and Director Flynn need to work out. And so far, the county has been able to handle the cost of the AA and have surplus each year. And this year looks like it's probably going to be the same. How much, you don't know until the end of the year, but because we get the months that are left that'll probably be good. I haven't really looked, but I think it's March and April, whatever the second half of the taxes are due. So there's another jump. There's a couple months there, and then June we get oil and gas severance. And I hadn't done any warnings last year. They kept warning us, oh, it's going to be less, it's going to be less, and so we tried to be careful with the money. But what it was, the values were less, but the production was up, so we came out using more surplus than we planned. So that's my explanation of why we did the budget revision. That's around money to pay the employees.
Okay. And I understood all that. I guess I kind of assumed that that was the case from the beginning. I just hadn't heard anybody verbalize it to me. I guess I have some questions. And the first question would be, and you may not be able to answer this off the top of your head, do you know what the Ambulance Authority payroll was for last fiscal year?
I don't know it off the top of my head. I'd have to look.
Do you think it was as much as this year?
It probably was. I'm not sure though. I'd have to look. I know this way Christmas and Thanksgiving hit this year. It cost us more in those 2 months because they were just more days considered holiday. And that's another issue. Ambulance Authority really probably need their own handbook. They don't fit ours very well, just because of the nature of the type of thing, what they do. And I'm sure there's things that aren't in our handbook they really need in theirs, and the things that are things in ours don't fit. But the holidays is one issue. Their agency may want to take different holidays, and maybe not, because we're pretty lenient with the holidays for our county employees, we always have been, but it creates a problem when you have someone working 24 hours a day. And those things weren't considered when we wrote our handbook. And so they made me something there. I know it's very hard to come up with a handbook. I was on the committee to help do ours, and it takes a very long time and it's a lot of work. But that's something else that might help in cost cutting too.
The reason I asked about last year's budget, if I recall, and most of the time it was what I was reading in the reporting in the newspaper, it was February, or maybe January, there was a budget revision. February, there was a budget revision.
I
March,
moved a little at a time because I was worried about the, how much money was going to have in the year, because they kept telling us that weren't going to have as much, weren't going to have as much. So every time I saw we had enough money, I moved some over. Then I waited a little while and I moved it again. But this year I went ahead, saw that one account was going so well, I went ahead and moved it all at once, so I wouldn't have to do a whole bunch of little budget revisions, which are a pain to do.
It's my understanding that the budget process is the responsibility of the county commissioners. We spend, I haven't yet, but I will in March, spend a considerable amount of time determining the various budget amounts for the line item expenditures. I think the auditor's office probably gives us a forecast for the revenue. Is that?
We have a formula that we use based on values, and I think it comes from the tax department. They notify the assessor. The assessor gets a commission figures, and then we get a number from all the numbers that they have. We work out a formula.
But we have a projection for the revenue.
That's just for the taxes.
Then it's up to the county commission to determine the level of the budget for each line item for the entire county. Is that not right?
The elected officials each give you an estimate what their needs are.
Right. And,
Yeah,
I think all.
it's an estimate. It says right on the front, the budget is an estimate, so you have, and you make a guess. It's already back in March. You don't have your year finished, so you can look back. You only have a half a year to look at, and you have to think about what's coming up.
True.
And what might be different the next year. And sometimes you don't know that until the end of the year.
Well, I understand
There's
that.
just a lot of estimating going on. That's part of the problem.
The difficulty that I have is the county commission approved the budget in March of X number of dollars. It would seem to me that each organization should look at that and say, this is the amount of money that we have to work with.
Now, the elected officials do that, but the ambulance authority employees are your employees, so you're the department that has to look at that and make sure that's enough money.
Okay?
The elected officials, they plan what their salaries on their employees are going to be, and what they're going to need to take care of them for the year.
Right.
That's, and the commission has to plan. But for what you requested that they do, there wasn't enough money in there to cover salaries, to have that 24-hour service for 2 people. That's
Then I guess my comment, or my statement would be that those who are responsible for that organization then immediately should say, we have difficulty with that. Or that organization should then say, okay, we've got this much money to work with. How can we work? How can we?
The cuts were so deep that I don't think they could function at the level that the commission wanted them to work at.
Did the county commission approve that budget?
They made a last minute cut. Or at the last minute after we already had to.
But did they approve
Yes,
that?
they approved it.
Okay. So I have to assume that the county commission then said, this is the level of spending that we want. Now, that can be for a variety of reasons, but that's what they said. So, did anybody question that, to your knowledge? Did anybody?
I know they weren't trying to cut expenses because they knew they didn't have as much, but I don't think they realized how much.
Don't they get a copy of the approved budget?
I don't know if they knew what the total was, because it was in the paper.
I was on the park board, and if I'm not mistaken, we made a budget request, and then once the budget was approved, we received a notification.
I see Jim once, yes, because he submits it, and the commission got a copy of their budget.
Pardon?
The commission did get a copy of their budget for the annual.
Which was the amount approved last March.
Yes. But I just felt that it needed to work with them to understand what it is the commission wants them to do.
Well,
Make changes.
I have no difficulty with that comment. I don't have a bit of problem with that comment. What I have difficulty with is the timing and the lack of any, I guess I would have to ask Shirley and Butch if there was any conversation or requests during the time last year between the beginning of the fiscal year and December. Was there any comment from the ambulance authority about the level of funding?
Oh, me.
I informed, the commission knew that there wasn't enough money to cover it at the rate, at the level they were working, because I've explained that to them myself. I told the ambulance authority the same thing, when it was obvious that there was going to be a problem. And then I submitted that, so they all, I thought, was aware of the situation.
So then I'm assuming that if the level of income had not been sufficient, that there wouldn't have been a $157,000.
We would have had, they would have had to think about something, because if we didn't have the money to move, we wouldn't have the money to move.
So it seems to me that good management says that if your budget is X number of dollars for 1 year and it's cut significantly the next year, and it doesn't look like you're going to be able to fund all the employees, that at some point in time, fairly quickly, you should be either requesting additional funds or revising a work schedule, or doing something, making some effort to live within the budget. That's the way it seems to me. I personally, I think that, and this is not going to be any grand revelation to anybody, but I think that the ambulance authority needs to come to the realization that this is not the federal government. We can't print money. And even if we have the additional monies, there are other places. For example, generators. Lots of different things. I don't mean to be, I mean, I'm not talking down to you, or I'm just making a comment here. And I don't blame you personally for this. I think the ambulance authority needs to sit down and say, we're going to have to we're going to have to pay attention because number one, March is going to be here pretty quickly. And we are going to have to set the budget for the next year. And I'm going to have to see something that that says we're going to have to, when I say we, I'm talking about the ambulance authority, we're going to have to live within our budget. We're going to have, problem nationally, once again, is nobody wants to live within their means. And that's, we don't have the option of cutting money, so we have to. And we've got lots of other organizations that need our help. And that's the way, that's where I'm coming from.
Well, I just think we really need to work together, since they are your employees.
Well,
Because if you're going to cut, you're going to end up cutting employees. I'm sorry, that's the issue for me, because I know all the employees, because I work with them on a regular basis.
well, I understand, and I don't have any problem with the employees of the ambulance authority. I don't have any problem individually with the members of the board of directors. It's the attitude that I have a problem with, and the attitude, to me, in the past has been, we have a free ride, and we're not going to pay any attention to what other organizations in the county have to, which is a cut in funding. That's nothing new to you. There were a lot of organizations that had their funding cut last year. So I don't want to belabor the issue. What I am saying is that the ambulance authority needs to do some serious investigation in their finances, because I personally am going to look at it real closely.
I believe they have to report there in the finances tonight, they're in for each of the commissioners.
Greg, the organizations that was cut was not our employees though.
I understand that. However, when you have one organization that the payroll accounts for 20% or more of your budget, there's something wrong. And like I said, the attitude, and it may have been what was the direction that was given them in past years. I don't know. I wasn't on the county commission. It may have been, they may have been told that money's no object. I don't know. But what I'm saying now is, my feeling is that the budget is going to be set by the county commission in March. And if I was the ambulance authority, I would pay attention to that budget and figure out a way to live within it. Just like every other office has to. I mean, we don't, I'm assuming anyway, that, for example, and I'm not picking on her or anything, but when Beth submits a budget request, that it has what she would like to see for every line item. Now, if we have an overabundance of money, then if we approve that, and she wanted to buy a new piece of equipment that wasn't included, then she would have to come to us, right? But if we didn't have an overabundance of money when we're going through the budget process, then what do we have to do? We have to look at her budget along with every other office in the county and say, okay, we're going to have to cut so much money off of this line item, and we'll have to cut so much money off this line item, so that we can balance the budget. Is that correct?
But we're talking about people's lives.
I understand that. The problem is that not all employees are, well, I won't say that. The problem is that there's only been one objective, as far as I can see, and that's to provide a top level of service. Now, we'd all like to have the best service that money could buy. However, we don't have all the money that would require. So that's what I'm saying. They need to understand that we've got to live within our means. We don't know what our budget, we don't know what the income next year is going to be. So,
I have a question.
okay.
How much was the cut made to their budget last year?
That's what,
It was, well, right at the end, it was $100,000.
100,000.
And it's still low, it was still underestimated at the time. It was, we guessed wrong.
And the budget revision was 157, 58,000. Thank you.
Tammy?
I have a question about the payment back to the county commission. Are they making the payment back to the county commission of the $20,000 that was budgeted or not?
They are making payments as they have money.
How much has been made in the last year, since June? How much has been paid back?
Do you have it?
$65,000.
I know I give it to him the other day, but.
How much, Randy?
$65,000.
And that's since January or since June?
65?
Yes, sir.
You should have that as a state. You just-
Is that,
Yeah, they give you those.
Oh, you're talking
There-
about the,
doesn't their fiscal year run from January to January instead of June to June?
No, we're the same government. July 1, June 30th.
Yeah, payments for what?
Their donations back to the county to help with payroll. It's nothing just required. And they have the money that they pay garbage bills. Something.
so, has there been any discussion from anybody about the inability to repay the requested $20,000 a month?
I don't think it was
There's never
requested.
been
It was just
request
that
for
it's what they do.
It was in the budget.
Requested of them.
It was budgeted, right?
Wasn't it budgeted last year?
They volunteered.
Oh, you mean the revenue section?
Mhm.
That's for any money, that's just an estimate of how much money might come in for payroll reimbursements. They're not the only agency that has payroll and
It's
reimbursement.
not what was said in the budget meeting.
Well, they go in all different accounts. I'm trying to think what other ones go in there. I might be the only one in there right now. I think the auditors had to move the rest of them, because community corrections reimburses us, the assessors valuation fund reimburses for salaries. And just-
It's a video.
Barbara. We
Board
put it
education,
in
that's
our
part of the grant, that's a
budget,
portion of the grant.
our monies that we received, that we were going to send $18,000 a month to the county commission. We have not always been able to do that every month. But that's what we were budgeting to contribute back to the county commission. We have been making the lease payment, but we have not always been able to contribute up to $18,000 each month. from what we had budgeted. There's never been any kind of agreement between us and the county commission to pay back the lease payment or to send money to your general fund to help to reimburse.
I don't know that there would be an agreement per se, because once again, if that was part of the budget process last year, then that was decided upon by the county commission, that it was supposed to be 20,000.
That's not my understanding, though, and I know I was here during that budget process, but I was not here the day that the $100,000 was cut. But we received nothing in the terms of, specific, like Beth was talking about what you received from the park. We've never received paperwork like that.
Really?
No,
Down the budget, it was your budget, so I give you the copy. It's the commission.
yeah, we submitted our budget to the county commission, and there was a line item on our budget that said that we wanted to reimburse that $18,000. That was in our budget to submit it
Separate
to the
from what
county
our
commission.
budget is, they have their own budget. We have a payroll budget. That's one thing that, they do payroll and benefits and insurance.
Well,
Mr. Robinson, excuse me, it all can be cleared up by looking at the video.
pardon?
Video online has it. I was here with the camera at that point in time.
At the budget meeting?
Yep.
Okay.
So, I guess then one thing to clear up future misunderstandings would be for any organization that has to submit a budget for us to consider when we prepare the county budget would be, once it is approved, that each organization then receive.
They don't submit a budget for your payroll. They have their own budget. You can go submit, I don't think submit a paperwork. I think we just, the commission was, I looked to see what the numbers we had already and give them an estimate of how much it was going to be, and the commission decided how much to put in there. But we didn't pay payroll the year before. They have a budget of their own that pays all their utilities and expenses up there. They usually give you, the commission, the copy of that. But I give it.
But there's no communication from them to you as to the payroll that we are supposed to
Well,
provide?
they knew what the total was going to be, and communication should be between the commission and the security.
Yeah.
I give the numbers anytime they ask me for numbers.
Is that the normal procedure though? Isn't it each department or committee provides a budget request to you? I'm saying you.
Yeah, the elected officials do.
Okay.
At the commission, if I see something's low in one of their accounts, I give them that suggestion and they decide.
I understand, but once again, I go back to, I know that the park submitted a budget request every year.
Yes, it is salaries, they do the salaries.
Okay. And ambulance authority is salaries, so why was that not?
Not salary, they're hourly employees. And
Well, salaries is the,
salary.
salaries is the
Okay.
description. Doesn't mean salary individual.
Yes, sir. And I kept in contact with them, and as far as the numbers go, I wasn't exactly sure where we fit in the number-wise as far as hours goes, because that was always something the county commission took care of. So I would keep in contact with Beth, do we need to do anything where we at? And she would keep me updated on where we at money-wise, but as far as commission goes, there wasn't a whole lot of communication between myself and the commission on what can we do, because when I came in, it was 2 trucks, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And without the transport truck we added, which yes is an additional cost, we couldn't give anything back to the county because that's what we're trying to give back to the county to try to help, because the board don't want to feel like they're crushing the county, because the board meetings we come to them, I get crucified, and we're working on things, trying to make things better and work better, but Mr. Robinson, I'm looking forward to you coming on and sitting down and helping us so that I can understand the budget process and work with the commission and give the citizens the ALS care that they need at an affordable cost, and we can all work together. And with this budget change, when I talked to them and requested, that we do this, I asked for that additional cost because I've seen our revenue coming in, not being able to give up to the $20,000, and we needed that additional sources to cover for the rest of the 6 months that we had to cover. And that's why they did this, and that's why Beth was working on it for me, so that we could make sure that everything was scoped to city. There's a lot of things I got to learn. I'm willing to learn if you guys are willing to work with me to help me understand the process.
Well, since you bring up transports, I would make a request, and you all can maybe half a dozen transports. I would like to see an accounting of the profitability.
We do one transport out of the county, and right now, I just gave them a report on it. It is profitable, however, when you look down to it, you're making $100-some off of a round trip. It's something the commission want to do, and I'm open to the commission saying no transports. We shut down the transports when we use the buses, because we work with the county commission, and it's your choice of what you want us to do. Because that's an additional truck we put on to handle that, but with the commission's
Well,
authority.
I understand, and the point here is, if you are calculating the profitability, then you are only calculating the costs that you are incurring.
I did the payroll and asked Beth where we'd be at. We multiplied their payroll by 40% to cover the benefits.